Welcome to today to Retaining Girls in Sport, Recreation, and Physical Activity, delivered in partnership between Canadian Women in Sport and CPRA. As you know, the Government of Canada announced a target to achieve gender equity in sport by 2035. And CPRA is tackling this at a number of junctures. So working with girls aged 9 to 15, new mothers, women age 55 plus, and girls and women with intersecting identities. Part of this project, Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide. Amazing. So this project and this workshop is part of that deliverable among toolkits, a webinar, and adding more content relevant to girls and young women in the High Five training, as well as community grants, which we will get to speak more about a little bit later on. So this training today is really great. It is going to be tackling goals 1, 2, 4, and 5. So active living, the inclusion and access, supportive environments, and recreation capacity. So there's a lot of quality content here tackling those. And if you're not familiar with this 2015 document, the Framework of Recreation in Canada, we encourage you to check it out. So without further ado, I am keen to pass on the mic to our phenomenal facilitator today from New Brunswick, Stephanie Le Breton. And she is going to play this video for you, and which will give you a bit more of a sense of who we are as Canadian women in sport. And then we will get to jump right into the content. I will be managing the chat, so please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and let's have a great session.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I am glad to welcome all of you guys today on the behalf of Women in Sport and Recreation, New Brunswick. So today we will use Zoom. We will use it to its full capacity. So just be aware that we will ask you to participate. Your mic is muted at this time, like Vanessa explained it, and we will have different ways to make sure that you're interacting. If you have any question, please pop them in the chat. So we will start with our slide about what is women in sport. Vanessa, you can help me out if the video is not very clear on your end. So I'm going to press play now. Sometimes we have some technical difficulties. Give me a thumbs up if everything looks good and sounds good on your end. Sound?
I don't have sound, so just reconfirm by clicking more at the top.
I figure it won't pause. There we go. It's a little slow there. Share computer sound, and 3, 2, go. Still nothing. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Keep playing instead of going forward. I am sorry, guys.
I get stuck on the video too sometimes, Stephanie. There should be an arrow if you bring your mouse to the bottom right corner of the screen. You should see a right arrow. Awesome.
Okay, perfect. So Canadian Women in Sport, that has changed name last February, has been around for almost 40 years and is committed to advancing gender equity in the Canadian sports sectors through system level with partnerships. So that means with you guys in Creation, New Brunswick, and across Canada. So the video we just saw is very inspiring, and I hope that will set the mood for what we're about to do today. If you haven't visited yet our website, I would like to invite you to do that also. And we are on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find a lot of resources that we will be talking about today online. And if you are interested in getting some of those information sent to you, you can always contact us, and it will be our pleasure to do so. So today we are going to set the context. We're going to review some of the factors that influence the participation of girls in sport and physical activity. And we're going to also look at some tools to help you as program coordinators and delivers on how you can implement some of those changes in your organization. So before we jump into all of this content, we're going to do a little icebreaker, set the mood. Hopefully, I don't know if everyone knows each other, but this will just help us start some partnership and have some conversation, because we're hoping that we're planting a seed today. And by the networking that you will be doing with everyone on this call, that you will leave inspired and ready to take on these tools to your community to have more girls participating in your programs. So we're going to build on the idea of understanding the implementation practice to set girls for success, and how to lead and how to help them lead and continue in sport. That's wonderful. Okay. The first thing we're going to do today is you're going to make sure that your name in your chat box have been updated, and we will include he or she on how you would like to be addressed in those conversations. How you can do that is that you will click on your picture. If you right click, usually there's a little tab down that says rename. So if I do that right now for myself, you're going to see that my name has changed this way. So now my name is Stephanie, and I like to be addressed as she. Okay. So I would like to invite everyone to go through that. Wonderful. I'm just monitoring, see how you guys are doing. And then Vanessa, please stop me at any point if you see that we need to address some technical difficulties. And I might have skipped a slide or two.
No, you're good. I'm seeing a lot of people have changed their name and include their preferred pronoun. Feel free to add your city or where you're from as well. I used myself as an example in the slide. So I'm from Ottawa, but currently in Toronto. This might be a bit more challenging if you're not on a laptop or desktop. So just shoot me a message if you're, on an iPad or another tool and you need some more instructions. I think we're good to move on to the
Perfect.
chat trivia.
We're gonna move on to the chat. So this helps us to understand a little bit of where you guys are coming from and what's your background, and help us redirect the conversation to make sure that the content that we're delivering hit home. So you're gonna go into your community with your partners and feel inspired and make some amazing changes, okay? Or maybe you're just gonna continue to improve what you're already doing, okay? I'm sure you guys are all superstars. I see some very serious faces this morning. I hope you guys gonna feel engaged and lighten up a little bit. I know it's Thursday, it's almost Friday, the weekend is coming, guys. Let's have a little bit of fun with what's coming next, okay? So we all have a story and it all starts somewhere. So the first thing we're gonna do for this poll is you're gonna put in the chat box how who or how did you got inspired to be physically active or to play sport growing up. And if you weren't involved, that is okay. That is also part of the conversation we're going to have today. What gets in the way of some of our participants getting involved? Do you see the chat blowing up? Okay, now I start to see some stuff. I was a little sad there for a second. Don't let me hanging too much. You can type the number. You don't have to retype the whole thing. Just a number is fine. I know I have a lot more people than that on the chat, so you guys gonna have to start playing along.
This is really great. I'm seeing a lot of people sharing number one, a family member or a friend. And having done this workshop a couple of times now, that is a pretty common response. So being, inspired by the people immediately around you.
And I think that is amazing that a lot of you have been inspired to be engaged in sport or physical activity by a family member. One of the topic that we will touch on today is role model and how that is important in our field. Okay, I think we got almost everyone out there. So we're having another poll, so don't get sidetracked too fast. You're gonna have to engage again into that chat. Now we're gonna look at the following question. What motivates you to improve physical activity for everyone? The people I serve, my team, or the people you work with? The positive impact sport and physical activity has in your life.
I see a couple of people putting multiple answers, and I specifically saw, not to put you on the spot this morning, but Daryl shared number one and number four. And if you feel comfortable, I would love to find out what you had as the other response. Feel free to put it in the chat.
Thank you. I missed that one. I also see something in the chat, Vanessa, if you don't mind, just about the French workshop. They might need a little bit of guidance there. Okay. Lots of numbers, the people we serve and the positive impact it has in our community. Love to see those answers. Okay. Good. So there was no right or wrong, just in case you guys were wondering. There's no right or wrong. Everything is good. It just helps us set the scene, know what you guys are feeling and why you're here today. I see a lot of number 3 in our second poll, the positive impact sport and physical activity has or had in your life. That's what from the framework that Recreation New Brunswick and Women in Sport, and just sport in general, or recreation, um, has, like, we know it has like a positive impact, and it helps people in their everyday life. So I love to see that you guys are all on the same page for this. So thank you very much for participating in our poll and in our chat. Now it's the moment that we're going to start creating some breakout rooms and give you little homeworks. Okay, so once you're going to be into your breakout room, just going to move. This is what we're going to do. You guys going to introduce yourself, and you're going to talk about what you're hoping to get out of the session today. Okay. So again, you're going to do a little bit of homework. You're going to connect with each other. So on top of giving you some tools, reviewing some of the barriers that we have in sport and physical activity for girls, it's important to see, like, what are you hoping to get out of this. There will be an evaluation at the end. So once we've been through all the material, you meet your amazing networking connection. If there is something you would like to see more of, it's very important to let us know. So I think this is good for this. You will have around 5 minutes to talk within your group, and Vanessa will be the one.
So sorry, Stephanie, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, so I'm unable to launch the breakout rooms at this time. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to ask people to annotate their responses directly on the slide. So we've all changed our name now to include our name and our pronoun and possibly where we're from or where we're calling in today. But if you go to the top of your slide, top of your screen, pardon me, and you click View Options, you should have the opportunity to annotate. So what that will bring down is a menu, and you can use text, or you can use a pen or anything to write directly on the slide. And if in a couple of words you could just share what you hope to get out of that session, that would be great. Again, I want to apologize for the inconvenience. We're adapting a little bit. Ideally, you'd be able to chat directly with each other. And we will be able to brainstorm some scenarios later on, but for now, we'll just annotate this aspect. Send me a message in the chat if you're having a hard time locating the annotate.
If it's easier for you to put in a chat your answer, you can do that as well. We can make notes of it and put it all onto the slide so everyone is included, okay? Do you see some writing on your slide?
I do. Someone shared that they're looking for new ideas.
New ideas. Awesome. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, we're getting some ideas there. I was just reading on the side the French slides, so I got that as well, that in the French as well, they're looking for some ideas. I think there's another one that just popped out of there. Best practice. Garder les filles dans le sport durant leurs années d'adolescence, de comment les garder intéressées. Just so you guys know, I am bilingual, so I can go back and forth as needed. No. Okay, female advanced sport. We're looking at older age. To getting inspired. I really like this comments in the chat, and I just have to say, like, Mahiz is looking to be inspired. I hope that everyone will be inspired by the end of the day. The day, morning, all the same at this point this week. Okay, I feel ready to move forward for the next one. Okay, so that was poll 1, poll 2, objective.
Stephanie, just remember to clear the annotations before you move on to the next slide.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Perfect. So now that we've completed this activity and we know that people are looking for ideas, they're looking to be inspired, they want to keep girls in sport, this is all good stuff. We're going to now dive into the objective of the workshop. So this was just to warm you up. I feel like I still need to warm some people up. So hope you're going to have some fun. We're going to keep making it interactive so no one falls asleep during this session. I know it's so easy. We're doing our whole world online right now, and we have all those other distractions. So I want you to participate, make some comment, see if there's some people that have the same concern as you, the same ideas, and you want to connect with them. You can do that in the chat as well. You can target someone in specific if you wanted to get to know them a little bit better. So please network. So this workshop is about 90 minutes. We're already 25 minutes in, so we're going to keep moving to the material the best as we can. And we want to empower each of you as sport leaders on how to design program that will enhance everyone's experience. And of course, at this time, we're saying especially girls, to continue to participate in sport. If we're successful, you're gonna leave with this experience with an understanding of the unique barriers that girls face to the quality of sport programming, and you will have a bunch of tools that meet both the physical, developmental, and social needs of the girls in your organization and in your community. So.
I'm going to quickly interrupt before we get into this next section. For anybody who joined later and missed the first spiel, to be able to access the slides in English or French, go to the top and click View Options. To see them in French, you would select my screen name, so Vanessa, she, her, Canadian Women in Sport. To see them in English, click Stephanie LeBreton, she. So that's how you can find them in either language.
Good. Wonderful. Okay. You want to make sure that everyone gets the best at this workshop. Si vous avez des questions en français, faites sûr de les mettre dans la petite chat. Puis Vanessa ou moi, on va s'assurer que vous avez les réponses que vous avez besoin. Si j'ai besoin de ralentir, c'est correct aussi. Laissez-moi juste savoir. Okay, perfect. So we're now setting the context. So that's a beautiful image, right? We've seen some of this, well, for quite some time now, not this one yet. Whoop, just trying to change my view. So we're going to define a little bit more equality versus equity. So the Lindsay's concept. No, I'm on the wrong side. Am I on the wrong side? Vanessa? Yes, no, it's me. Sorry, we skipped one. Awesome.
You're good,
Okay.
Stephanie.
Yeah, no, it's my other sheet that was not good. Okay. They're very similar, but it's important that there's a slight difference between the two of them and why that matters for us today. So we are using a bicycle to help drive this concept home a little bit more for everyone. So if we look at equality right now in these pictures, we can see that everyone were given the same tool, right? And they're at a starting line, they have the same bike, and they have to figure a way to get to the end. It doesn't work for everybody's, right, in these pictures. So that's what equality is. So we're offering each person what is what is perceived as the same opportunity with the same piece of equipment. Okay. On the right, equity, focus on providing everyone with the full range of opportunity and a different bike so that everyone can achieve similar outcome or reach the same finish line. In this difference, equity acknowledge and encourage us to address the many contributing factors that impact the starting line. Gender equity is a process of allocating resources, program, and decision-making fairly to both men and women and addressing imbalance in this benefit available to men and women or boys and girls and the people of diverse gender. My computer is dying. I'm having a little bit of a crisis there. So what I would like you to do at this point, I wanted you guys to use a stamp. I would like you to use a stamp either on equality or equity. You can pick any stamp of your choice. In your life, have you encountered more equality or have you encountered more equity? So if you don't know how to get there, at the top of your screen, or yeah, at the Vanessa, can you help with this one?
Yes, I'm already seeing some people starting to stamp on my screen and yours as well. So it's the similar tool as before, the Annotate, but instead of doing text, you're going to use the stamp. So you can choose any stamp and just, we want to see people's familiarity with these terms. Great. Okay. Yeah, I'm already seeing some people. We do need to truck along a bit though.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So this is good. So I hope that this concept is making a little bit more sense on how we want to apply everything we're going to go through today. So we have experienced equality before, same tool for everyone, but now we know that that doesn't work for everyone. Okay. So I just want to save myself there. I have like 3 screens going on and I unplugged my computer by mistake. Okay. So that's wonderful. Let's move on to the next one. Intersectionality. So this might be a term that is fairly new for some of you or completely new for some of you guys, and that's okay. We're going to review it a little bit more in detail, and it's very important for us because there's a lot of component that makes who you are. There's who you are physically, there's who you are as a whole, where you're from, and so on. And I didn't clear my screen. I'll do that right now. Okay, so this intersectionality is relatively new term, and we have chosen to include it to complete the definition on the term. I'm trying to feed and Vanessa, and now I'm eating my word. So in practice, it consider all the layers of an individual identity and how together these layers impact how people move through the world. So if we follow, in the following section, we will see these factors of someone's identity correlate to the likelihood that they stay in your program or that they even join your sports, okay, or your programs or your after school, however that is being implemented in your communities. So It is a very successful, it can be a very successful tool when it's used properly to design your programs. And why is that? Is because it will help you to ensure that your programs are safe, inclusive, that they are have a broader representation of your community and its needs, and it will provide equal opportunity for everyone. So those are just a few of how using this concept in your program and how you design your program is important. So Canada Women in Sport in the final stage of developing a handbook. So it's currently in the process. Maybe Vanessa can speak to this a little bit more of when you can potentially get this tool, where you will have tips on how to create more inclusive program in sport and recreation for newcomer girls. So this is a specific subject on its own. So we know that this is a reality for some of our communities. So if that is something that impact you and your communities and you would like to receive that tool, make sure to connect with Vanessa, okay? Okay. Has anyone seen this diagram or something similar before? If so, you can just put a little yes in the chat box, just so we know that at the end, is it something we need to chat a little bit more about? Or do you guys understand that we're a very complex human at the end of the day, and we all come from different background, and that can affect if we are participating in your program or not? Okay, lots of you guys are it's wonderful. Okay. So the next one, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it before. It's our long-term development. This model has now evolved to is model 3.0, and it takes the whole person, and we put it on the sheet saying this is what you should learn at each stage to help you stay active for life. Okay. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward when we look at the diagram. I think an important part of the bottom of how we start long-term development programming is understanding that fundamental includes fun, but it doesn't just stay at the bottom. We want our program to include fun all the way through, and that helps keep our participant in our programs. And that is going to be especially important when we're going to look at some of the rally report we have done, that it's a key component of what girls are looking for to stay involved. Okay. So multi-stage training, it include a lot of the competition, but I want you to look that Fit for Life is taking now a very large part of the development program. So it's not just a sport specific, it does include recreation. And when you look at the pillars of recreation, New Brunswick, that they presented at the beginning, that you guys are all very familiar with, you guys are implementing, and your goals and your vision are right in line. So just keep doing what you guys are doing. You're doing an amazing job. So now we're going to touch also on some barriers of, according to this model, what could get in the way of girls staying or participating in your sport or programs. We're going to also review some strategies to help gender neutrality versus consideration based on social difference. And this is why it has a little goggles. Okay. You're going to use your little stickers again. Vanessa, you have something to add?
Yeah, I can take this slide, just another opportunity to annotate. So we have a little trivia question here. Please use the stamps from before and guess to the best of your abilities, what percentage of Canadian girls are not participating in any kind of sport and physical activity? So you have We'll give you about 10 seconds to make your guess, and then Stephanie will share the results.
Oh, again, I did it. Sorry.
Three, two, one. That's it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, unfortunately, the only person who guessed it right is 51%. You guys were seeing it a little worse than it is at this time, which is okay. It just means that you guys have a real desire to see more girls participating in your programs. Okay, I'm gonna clear this and I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay. Intersecting factors. Great. So this is based from a Raleigh report that explored the current trend in sports participation and recreation program that is specifically targeting group of girls between the age of 6 and 18. So overall, this report shows us that sports participation level for Canadian girls are much lower than boys. And I feel like everyone is on this call today because they're well aware of this and they care. So among the girls who are participating in sport, there's a dramatic dropout that is observed to the rate of 1 to 3 girls will leave the sport by adolescence, so early teens, comparing to the rate for the boys dropout, which is 1 out of 10, and only at the age between 16 to 18. So big difference. We're looking at what we have right now, and we're less likely to participate. This is amazing information. So we usually have boys that are younger than 12, able-bodied, Caucasian, South Asian, Asian, Black, have any sexual orientation. And what we are less likely to have in our programs is to that far right side is a little sad, and it helps us target some of those groups that we could better serve. The next part on this slide shows their homes have parents who potentially have participated in sport, or a family member, which we've seen that for a lot of you that is very relevant at this point. The income is an important factor to take in consideration, and the setting they're in, meaning where they're from and what's available to them. Just checking, see how the chat is doing. Okay. So the rates that Canadian girl decline steadily from childhood to adolescence, with as many as 51 not playing sport at all. However, the girl who have disability or family who earn less than $50,000 annually are the one who are at greater risk of not being included or participating in your program. So we got another little activity here. Did someone put a little star? See, like, this is a very important part. If you guys have some tricks and trades along the way, you are definitely welcome to share some of those in the chat. Okay. Vanessa, do you want to launch this question in?
Yep, so we're doing this one more time. What percentage of girls report that the quality of programming was a barrier to their participation? So they, this is either why they didn't join in the first place or they chose to leave early. Same age range that Stephanie was mentioning, 6 to 18 years old. And this is more content from Canadian Women in Sports Raleigh report. And that was released in April of 2020. You can find it in English or French on our website. On my screen, I'm seeing a vote for 28%, 33%, and 43%, similar to this side. So you have about 5 more seconds. Then we can clear them and move on to the next slide, which has the answer. 3, 2, 1. Final votes are in.
Okay. So thank you everyone for participating. Unfortunately, the correct answer is that 43% of the girls are leaving the programs that we offer because of the quality of them. Oh, now I'm stopped sharing. Wonderful. It cleared down at 8. Perfect. So as you can see, nearly half the girls say that the quality of the program is a barrier in their participation in the continuation of their participation in sport. So on the slides, you can see that there's various reasons why the quality of a program can be diminished. And fortunately, these reasons are within our control. So that's great news. We can do something about it, right? So 43%, and we are in control of the program. So let's see how we can do better. So here are some of the factors that influence the girls participating in your programs. So we have to go over what they potentially going to lose if they're not in our program. So we know that there are some short terms and long term effect that are positive on the impact of everyone's life by being involved physically uh, in their community, and how beneficial those connections are as well for their development. So we know that it helps improve their health. We know that it promotes self-esteem, that it will increase their social competence. It can have a positive effects on their academics. Um, it develop lifelong skills. I can't reinforce enough how having girls in your program, it provides everyone with lifelong skills they will be able to use and tap on throughout life. So there is a module if you want to learn more about that specific um, tools. There's another model that you can do in more in depth with women in sport called Keeping Girls in Sport. It's an e-module, so you can do it at your convenience, and it does a really great job on looking a little bit deeper on those positive impact, as well as a key motivation for girls participating and continuing to participating in your programs. So we know that this is good stuff. We want to keep them in because we want to create better human overalls. So girl experience barriers in sport due to several juncture, and the social ecological model is helpful. It's a helpful ways to look at it like an onion. It has various layers of influence, and we are seeing this right now as four sphere: interpersonal, environmental, policy, and societal. I'm very French right now. This is too close to my word. So societal. Vanessa, can you help? I think I lost you, Vanessa.
No, I'm right here. Yeah, so you can just say policy related, societal.
Okay, perfect. So if we take the first layers of this onion, which is interpersonal fear, and it consider what you think, what girls may think or feel that prevent them from participating in sport. And this can be something simple as the sport is it's too rough, or the program is too rough. She might perceive that it's more like specific to sexual preference. And if she likes sport or she doesn't want to be seen as disruptive, by pointing out a barrier to her participation in sports, so she doesn't want to be judged for those opinions. The interpersonal sphere consider close relationship that influence a girl's understanding of her role of the role of sport in life. Does she have any emotional or economic support of her family to participate in sports? So the social aspect of it. The environment consider different access points to sport, literally and figuratively. Are the program available to her? Are they of high quality? Are other girls in the programs? And is the representation appropriate to their culture? So is there any barrier example for Muslim girls to participate? In addition to the right equipment, are the role model present in the coaching staff and program administrator? They're looking for caring adult. They're looking for a safe environment. Lastly, policy-related sphere, consider the external structure that affect the community access to quality sport or sport programming or recreation program. Is the program adequately funded? Is the program held at a time that girls can attend? Are the streams for girls to progress as athletes? With these different spheres in mind, we can imagine that while one girl may have the support of their family, which is an interpersonal factor, to be physically active, they may run into other barriers, such as their school no longer offer that programs, or their community no longer offer this program, which would be an environmental or a policy related factor. So as advocate for girl participation in sport and physical activity, we must constantly ask ourselves the following questions. What barriers exist to the programs you offer, and what barrier can you mitigate? So
I'd
remember,
love to just add to that example that you provided, Stephanie, when we, take this model and then we apply the intersectional lens on top of it. So there are, two girls who both have the emotional support of their family to participate in a school program, and then the school program is canceled or it doesn't fund it anymore. If one girl comes from a more affluent family, that family can then pay for her to do a community program or maybe travel to another school to participate. But if we're thinking about, the girl and her family making less than $50,000, that might have been her only opportunity to participate in sport. So it's really helpful to use these two tools in tandem to understand the full picture.
wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa. Absolutely, very important. So with that in mind, we understand that everyone's don't have the same experience, and there can be different barriers when the environment change that affect them. So now, based on those two slides, we were supposed to go back into a breakout room, but we're going to change a little bit how we communicate our brainstorming. We're going to reflect on some of the barriers, and we're going to try to focus on how we can enhance their experience. So for this activity, you're going to organize your idea with your group. Do you have this in a Jamboard, Vanessa, by chance?
Yes, we do have the Jamboard. So I'm going to, but because of the breakouts, we're going to do a live annotation,
Okay.
similarly to before. So once again, you're going to click View Options and Annotate, and this time you're going to do a text. Just to make sure that we're not writing on top of one another, before you exit your text box, feel free to move it somewhere so that they're not superimposed. So I think we'll spend about 2 minutes and ask everyone to reflect on one limitation and one enhancer. And it's okay if there's some repetition there. We'd just love to hear about your experience and what you found works and what doesn't work. So a factor that limits girls and young women's experience in sport, and a factor that enhances it. If you run into any issues with the annotate, please send me a message. Oh, that's great. I'm already seeing some. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I think those are good conversation, and we can check in the chat in case there's some people that would rather us typing it in.
Mm-hmm.
See a lot
Yep.
of enhance. Anyone has some limitation they came across?
This is really great. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. You'll have about 30 more seconds, and then we can summarize these. Awesome. I think we can start to, if everybody hasn't had an opportunity yet to read some of these, and Stephanie, if you want to highlight a couple that you think are interesting or really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all so wonderful. I think we all came across some limitation in our life in our programs, and it can be overwhelming trying to solve them, but it's important to remember that doing a little bit, having little changes and being flexible to able to at least even offer something, it's better than nothing at all. I see that some of the enhancement of their experience is are very good, and you guys can tap into that to help you counterbalance some of the limits you might encounter. So um no one else like me in the program. I think right now when we look at everything we went through with the gender lens, I think this is, it brings it home. We know we need to start celebrating everyone for their difference and empower them, that everyone has strength, and those strength um, can be highlights in a positive lens to help them continue to participate in a sport. And having positive role model is important. Bringing leaders they can relate to helps fight these limits. Not the right equipment. If you need to go into your to tap into those organization that you're partner with to try to find some funding, um, sometimes it takes a little bit of work, but you can look out there and see if there's support you can find to help you fight some of those limits. So this is kind of what I see. Some of your enhancement can help some of your limits. I don't know if Vanessa, you have anything you would like um, to highlight as well before I erase and move forward.
Yeah, I think a lot of these you're going to see come up when we go into those technical factors of influence and what needs to be considered. So, creating choice, building a supportive environment. We see that here in community and other terms on the page. In the chat, there's a couple of people who answered that way. So for an inhibitor, or sorry, a limitation, there was decrease in time to practice due to part-time work, school, or other commitments, which is, that's a competing factor with participating in sport and recreation. And then somebody shared, lack of girls' teams, so a lack of opportunity and more participation when girls can play on all girls teams. So again, creating that safe and supportive environment that is sometimes, not co-ed. But oh, Okay, sorry, that was a separate comment about a tech question that just came in. No, I think that's great. We can clear the slides and move on to the next. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. Tons of really great contributions on this slide.
Perfect. All right. So when we consider all these factors, it can be overwhelming. And like we just said, like the more we identify, the more we can see it's going to require more time commitment, that there's financial barriers, that sometimes injuries or no more enjoyment can can be in the way of girls staying involved or even participating in our sport. So for that reason, we're going to address the following four a little bit more in depth, and those are been pulled out of the Raleigh report from Canadian Women in Sport have done, and it's available on their website. So these are the time commitment, or rather competing commitments, such as school, part-time work, like you mentioned, taking care of siblings or older family. There's so many things that we know at some point can be a competing factor. I think everyone is well aware that financial barriers is also can be more in certain areas than others, and doesn't provide a equals opportunities for everyone. Injury is an important one as well, and those are different for girls in sports, and not enjoyable anymore. So girl identify that having fun as a group, competing and working hard with positive coaching for role models are the highlight of why they're staying in your programs and why they keep coming back for more. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at those in depth. So in this section, we're going to cover how you as program leaders and sport administrator can address those barriers and have a positive impact on girls in this in our community. So if we bring that back to poll number 2, a lot of you guys are doing what you're doing for that reason. You want to leave a positive impact in your communities. So we know that girls leave because of barriers, and we know what motivates girls to stay in your program. So that's wonderful. So now we're going to look at some evidence-based solution that you can apply to support ongoing participation and retention. So we narrow it down to 4 for you guys. So consult, like we mentioned, you consult organization that specialize in this area of the limitation of what you're trying to improve. Canadian Women in Sport is a great place to start. We do have e-module. We do have some amazing support staff that can help you with some of the gender equity limitation that you might be facing. And as mentioned, girls in Canada have many intersecting identities that would benefit from more information going into your program planning. So if you're offering adaptive programming for women or youth who have experienced violence, or girls leadership programs, so are you thinking about those participants when you're doing your programmings? If this is a need for your community, but you're not an expert on it, or you haven't lived that experience, then look for an organization that guide you through that process. So making those partnerships help you gather the knowledge and the confidence to move forward and serve a group of girls or young women that would truly benefit from a caring, supportive, positive environment to stay in sport for their wellness as a whole. Build supportive environment, like I just mentioned, through positive coaching that prioritizes social connection. So having those role models, having people that look like them, having guest speakers, maybe someone they can look up to and inspire them. I'm sure you guys may be able to do a little bit of a research and bring someone, or now, I mean, with online delivery, sky is the limit. We have to get outside of our box, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but we got to do that in order to design for girls. Okay. Foster fun, fundamental fun the whole way through. The more fun you have, the better it is. And in a sense that it's going to build a culture, a positive culture. They're going to support each other, and at the end of the day, they know that they're going to give back to the to our communities. They're going to come back for more, and they're going to give back at some point. So, and the last one that we want to focus on is to prevent injuries. So we'll go and review some common injury that sideline girls from being engaged in your program, and how to equip your program deliverers to prevent them. So take a little bit of a moment to read what's onto the right of the slides. We have another activity right after that will guide you through, as we are looking a little bit more into those four concepts. Give you 10 seconds there. Vanessa skipped it already on the French side, so here we are. So as mentioned, consultation is the key to offering programs that are appropriate and will benefit your community. This means offering programs girls are interested in, understanding why participation rates are dropping, and finding out ways of layering specific education into a sport or physical activity. So effective consultation requires thoughtful research, and in most cases partnership. So when improving or developing a new program, the group you consult should be your stakeholder of your program and have a broad of experience with the audience that you are trying to target. For example, if your objective is to engage newcomer girl or woman, consider consulting with a settling agency. Ideally speak with the woman or girl directly. So you want to have the insight of the participant you're trying to target. You also want those groups to be diverse. So are you serving program participant from different socioeconomic groups? Are you serving prospect program participation for all abilities? So keep that in mind. We want diverse program, and we want more equity, okay? We want to build supportive environment. So creating social and emotional safe space for our participant and staff should always be a priority. I don't think I'm praising this enough, and I think you guys already know that. So a safe environment is not limited to the physical space or emergency procedures. There's 3 factors, like you can see, that are interrelated. So physical environment, social environment, and physical and mental engagement. All 3 P's have a relationship with one another, okay? And without considering all 3 of them, your program is not a safe and supportive program environment. So let's see what that looks like, okay? Awesome. This is what it looks like. Social acceptance, effort, performance, positive sports experience. That's what it looks like for girls. On the right side, you can compare that to what it looks like for boys. You can read all of this a little bit more in details if you are interested into one of our article on our website, She Belongs. So understanding your participant motivation in going into your program design is the key to fueling their desire to play and the key to retaining them in their programs. So as you can see there, there's a key distinction between what leads positive outcome for the girl versus the boys. And for many boy participant, performance enhance their social position. And for the girls, participant social acceptance enhance individual and group performance. So I am accepted and I am valued for who I am. When she feels accepted, when she has the security to try without fear or social repercussion for making a mistake or failing, that's when she'll come back for more. That's when it will become her home and she will continue to thrive in that environment. So effort then leads to improving performance, which fuel even more, but we cannot forget the root of social connection. So then lead to improved performance, which fuel even more effort, but we can't forget the root of social connection. That feeling of belonging is very, very important. So managing the group dynamic is part of how those programs are more successful. So safe and welcoming. That is a warm welcome. Making sure that throughout every program, each participant get to be named, at least one by their name, and not for something they got caught doing wrong in that moment, but for something they did well. And there's a caring question asked on how they're doing overall. Okay, so emphasis to the value of safe sport and to stay in sport. We prioritize social connection. So maybe the going into the programs, welcoming, making sure you're feeling how your group is doing, start with building meaningful connection with the group right away when they come in. Okay. Providing a positive experience and a lasting social connection. Exposing girl to strong and powerful female role model. Empower girls to strive to their full and equal position in sport and in society. So it's important to acknowledge that the same way a girl's sport and physical activity experience can be greatly influenced by factors at the different social ecological level of her life. Everyone has a role to play in ensuring that the environment is supportive. So the organization lead, the sport administrator, the program deliverer. Okay, so I want you to take a minute there to think a little bit more about the team culture and your staff. Do you feel that they meet those standards? Is there anything that you feel that maybe you need to provide your staff and your leads with to empower them with the tools to lead your program this way? Can start with a simple affirmation, right? Could be I belong. And they do their warm up and their activation, and it's I belong. Find ways. You guys can be creative. There's so much material that you can tap into and make those meaningful connections. So the next one is that we have to have those role models and champion of gender equity. So to recap a full benefits of the role model, they must constantly practice healthy habits and adopt positive attitude towards their participant and that their participant can learn from. So representation is necessary. So all girls have a role model they can look up to. And we are supposed to have a little activity With this, Vanessa, can I call you back on the floor?
Yeah, so if you can move on to the next slide. Excuse
Perfect.
me, on your slide. Oh,
Wonderful
did
scenario.
I lag a bit? Am I lagging?
I think you're good. Um,
Okay.
for our scenarios, we were supposed to do.
Mhm.
Do we have
So
it?
we were supposed to be in breakout rooms, but again, due to this technical difficulty, that's not going to happen. But I will take the time to just quickly read this scenario, and then I would love to get your input in the chat. But you can also feel free to raise your hand to weigh in on this. So as I read this scenario, if you could consider, okay, what's the underlying issue? Who do I need to talk to get some more information? So that consultation piece. And then what are some of the things I can do, and how will I recognize if there's a positive result? So what, who, and then how. So I'll quickly read this. You are a coach of a pro or program deliverer. Toward the end of your last program cycle, you noticed the attendance of girls in your co-ed multisport program drastically decreased. So it's co-ed multisport program, less girls towards the end. When you asked one of your participants why fewer girls were attending, she explained that the boys don't pass, and a number of the girls were bullying each other at school. So a lot of these girls go to the same school and they're having some conflict there. The majority of the girls register again for the upcoming program cycle. How do you plan for the next program cycle knowing all of this? So fortunately, they're still registered. You get to see them again, but you have to address this issue. So what is the issue? Who do you need to get some more info from? What can you do? And how do you know if it'll have a positive impact? I'll keep my eyes on the chat. Feel free to chime in and unmute yourself. And if you have follow-up questions, that's great to ask as well. So I'm already seeing a suggestion from Daryl. He says, have a quick talk about respect and being a team. So I think that's really great. It speaks to the idea of creating a positive culture and a safe environment. And I love the use of, respect and really creating those terms or those concepts that the kids can hold on to. Okay, is this action respectful? Is it disrespectful? I'm seeing another one. It may be a good idea to consult with the school, i.e. teachers or principals, to get a better idea of what the bullying relationship with the female participants, so you have a more holistic picture of what's going on outside the program. I think that's really great. I've personally encountered this myself where things seem a little bit off, and you're only noticing the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more underneath the surface that you need to uncover to be able to, smooth the waters and make sure that everybody is engaging in a healthy and safe environment. Talking to the teachers, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to wait for one more contribution and then we're going to move on. Oh, we have two. Amazing. Establish program elements that would allow everyone to engage. So rules that require passing, grouping so that those with similar skills are doing drills together. That's really great. So if, for example, they're playing, basketball or soccer or some sort of territorial activity, you have to make a certain amount of passes before you can try and score. Or maybe in basketball, you eliminate dribbling so that they can only move by passing the ball with one another. I think that's awesome. We have two more. So somebody said that they see this exact scenario in wrestling. That's great. I'm not as familiar with wrestling. We start each season with respect for each other and coaches. We have regular meetings with the parents and athletes as a group and individuals to address this. I really like that because it's not one and done. Because culture isn't based on a single action. It's a series of actions and consistency and accountability measures. So having those conversations with parents throughout the season is very valuable. Last one, start the program off with activities that focus on respect and trust, provide them opportunities to then debrief why it's important to practice these values with each other. Yes, I love that that's two ways. So it's not just, coach, program deliverer, leader, whoever it is saying, we do this, we do it this way, this is why we do it, but you're getting that call and response. So why do you think it's important? How did you feel when you don't get the ball? Things like that. Phenomenal. We're pressed for time, so we have to keep it moving, but thank you so much, everyone, for participating.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vanessa. So we found out 3 things that girls like and they would love to see more out of your program. And it's the following. They want a positive team dynamic. They would like to try hard. They like to be challenged. That's wonderful. You want to tap into that. And they like positive coaching. So if we look a little bit more in detail about those 3 things, this is what it's going to look like a little bit. So why is it critical to build positive dynamic on a team? It enhanced their performance. It addressed social pressure that leads girls to drop out of sport twice as the rate of the boys. It prepared the coaches or the sport lead to recognize and disrupt this signs of the girl disengagement from the sport. So there's many ways to infuse social connection into your program, and we recommend unstructured time and offering informal activities that there are participant driven. So you want to engage them, you want them to have a little bit of freedom, you want them to give back to their program and make those meaningful connection with each other. So this could look like I mentioned, a participant choose their favorite music, and you give them time to work on the skills of their choosing. It allows the girls to collaborate and for you as a leader to learn more about their likes and dislikes. We also suggest planning activity like a shadow, which the girls get the opportunity to lift each other's and develop closer relationship, lifting each other's up, getting a feeling of feeling that vibe and knowing they have each other's back. That's gold. We truly we want you to be truly effective, however, and we want you to value that these value must be part of a greater organization attitude to prioritize relationship over outcomes that they are needs. So it needs to be a culture change, and it needs to be something that the whole organization see as value to them. So it gives you a little bit more of an insight as a leader, what is expected of you in order to create those positive team dynamics. To give you a few seconds to read that blue part. Wonderful. Trying hard. So the girls want to participate in equality, a program of quality. They want to learn new skills. They want to improve through intentional skills building, and they like to compete. So like most people, they find satisfaction in giving their best effort, and we refer to those intrinsic motivator. This does require that the program leader first create an environment where the girl feels comfortable to show vulnerability by trying hard. So not being scared of failing, that together we're gonna lift each other up and continue trying. So we can get that in a way where trying new things is learning from experience. We're getting to make mistakes, and it doesn't affect or jeopardize our social standing. So to combat this, girl must have the fundamental down so they can build more complex skills on top of that foundation. We also
So we have to keep it moving because there's a meeting that starts right at 10:30. So we'll move on to the last piece of fostering fun, which
okay.
Stephanie, if you can move, and then we have 5 minutes for questions. So I can capture this one. Positive coaching. So sorry to cut you off, Stephanie. I'm so conscious of this meeting. So the girls want to feel included, they want an opportunity to make new friends, and they want to be empowered to stay in sport. So, that's a lot of talk. It has to be reflected in your program. Are you creating opportunities for them to make new friends, or are they just skill building? When you speak about, athletes in the community or their performance or leaders, is it through a lens where they understand how meaningful it is and everything that they're getting out of sport, like we were talking about on one of the very first slides? Are you talking about the increase of their confidence? Are you talking about the health benefits? I think a lot of people think that just sort of happens, but it actually takes a conscious effort for them to understand that. Moving on to injury prevention. So 2 slides from here. We know that injury is a main reason why girls drop out of sport. So we need to address the mechanical, the energetic, and the psychological, psychosocial. For mechanical, we want to make sure that we're staying on top of best practices and teaching those fundamental movement skills so that girls don't continue in their recreational sport not knowing how to move laterally or not knowing how to stop safely, and then injuring, knee ligaments or running into people and getting concussions. Energetic injury, you want to talk to both your girls and the parents about healthy fueling and healthy relationships with food so they don't run into those issues. And then the psychosocial injury, does everyone feel valued? Is everyone safe? Are you addressing any bullying issues like in the scenario we talked about, right? It doesn't just resolve on its own. You need to intervene and have a presence. So a lot of what was captured in this next slide I just mentioned, but you're going to be able, I'm going to share this in a follow-up document so you will have access to this. But now we have time for questions. So in our reflection, you should know now, sorry, next slide, Stephanie.
Sorry, it's just someone put something in a chat, and I just wanted to make sure we address the need of the group first. So
thank you for flagging that.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they're done with us and they're just want to reflect and move on, but maybe this is empowering and they want to have a little bit more of a conversation with us and they find this helpful. So I just want to at least like give them a chance to have a voice.
No, thank you, Stephanie. I was cruising, but yeah, you're right. I see the message here from Chris that we can take a little bit more time, which is great. So if you can go back one slide, Stephanie. That's great. So if you're not already familiar, there is a Safe Sport e-module that I'll be able to share in a link in the follow-up email that does a really great job of outlining, the best safe sport and rec practices. I would pop in the chat if you are familiar or if you have done this before. For those mechanical injuries, we want to make sure that we're on top of the fundamental movement skills. So stop and go, jump, someone's entered the waiting room, and a number of other things so that they're not progressing in their technical and the advancement of doing more difficult without having those fundamentals, and they can really move safely. Communicating the risk of energetic injury. So this is due to, not proper fuel intake resulting in injury. And we know that girls entering, like grades 6, 7, 8 really start to develop those negative attitudes towards food. So we want to make sure that we're having that conversation with both parents and girls. And then being aware of the social isolation and positive team dynamics. So Stephanie did a really great job of recapping all of those earlier, but that is truly the best way to combat those psychosocial injuries. As we move on to the reflection, does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to highlight? This is our opportunity to share more ideas and really learn from one another, and we'd love to hear any questions that you have. You can either unmute yourself or you can pop those into the chat and we can discuss them further. Stephanie, if you want to move on to the next slide, I'll go through the next slide as we wait for those questions to come in. So based on what we were here learning about today, now we should be able to really recognize and be able to address those barriers within our scope of responsibility and scope of control that prevent girls from really benefiting from rec and sport. We know that some of those are, policy-based and maybe we can't address, but we can do other little things to help mitigate them. We want to be able to consider the influence of girls' socialization and their intersecting identities and how they then engage in sport and rec and other opportunities. Now you can, use this information to advocate for the girls in your program and in your community and create those pathways for girls to stay in sport. So ensuring that, injury isn't sidelining them, ensuring that a bullying experience isn't sidelining them, and you're creating the foundation for them to stay in sport and recreation for a long, long time. Oh, we have a comment in here that would be great for us to discuss. So Daryl shared that he finds the hardest is buy-in from sport organizations themselves, and that seem mostly to focus on boys. I think there's a lot there. There's a lot there that we can talk about, but you're right, there are unequal opportunities, and it's a long history of that. So you have to take baby steps every day to really try and dismantle that pattern and that historical factor there. So we can't, we can't tackle it. Yeah, go for it.
Can I just jump in quickly before we can move on? Daryl, that's a very good comment, and you have to be the advocate. Every one of us, like anything else, we have to be the one that get out of our comfort zone and reinforce how important it is that we tell them that these are lifelong skills. We give them that now. We break the barriers now. They're going to buy in. They're going to be a role model. They are sisters. They are daughters. They are mothers. They are part of our community. And they're a building block of us moving forward to have better, stronger community that makes sure that everyone is included.
That's great, Stephanie. Thank you so much. So if we don't have any more comments from anyone, we can move on to these new funding opportunities available right now. So both Canadian Women in Sport and CPRA have funding available. For Canadian Women in Sport, the WISE Fund applications are open until Monday. So it's a microgrant of $2,500. And the application is not that taxing. It's 5 questions, and you can find more information in the chat and the link that I will share shortly. But it's all about advancing gender equity in sport. Similarly, CPRA has their Gender Equity in Recreation Sport Community Grant Initiative live. Their application deadline is December 11th, and they can provide grants up to $15,000 to address these similar barriers in sport and recreation. So good to have both of those there, particularly addressing Daryl's comment. If you can address a problem and follow it up with some funding to support it, you get a lot more buy-in from organizations than, you know, when you show up with just a problem. So highly encourage everybody to check both of those out. We can move on to the evaluation. So I'm going to put that in the chat right now, or you can use this QR code. So the way that you use the QR code is you can hover your phone and camera over it, and then a link should appear. But otherwise, I'll have the link right here. All right, that is it on our end. Thank you so much to everybody who participated today. I really appreciate you joining us and contributing your phenomenal ideas.